So as I cast this game, it's practically voting day. You've probably heard there's a pretty big election coming up. And I have to ask, wouldn't it be better if we chose our world leaders based on Starcraft games? I feel like it's obviously a superior system. National governments should be determined by who has the best macro and micro, such as candidate stats!
Current world rank 9.
He's the number 2 Protoss in the world right now, second after Trap. Our regular viewers know we haven't had a Terran victory on this channel in ages. It's a sickness, I tell you. Could this man be the cure?
Current world rank 12.
But I think we all know it would have been better if I went with this instead. There is supposed to be a photo of the band floating up there. Hopefully I wind up finding one. We've got a gate and go for stats. That's not a huge surprise. We know that Protoss loves to give Terran a hard time as they build their barracks. Is it just me, or has the meta really evolved so that Protoss is primarily the jerks of the first 3 minutes? The other races just don't seem to behave as badly. Why is that? Are Protoss probes starved for attention? Did their mothers not love them? Do they have chips on their shoulder from not having as many tournament wins? Anyways, it's looking like a Reaper expand for Cure. There's his orbital and he's queuing up minerals. Stats is gonna see if he can delay that command center, but there's 2 SCVs on the job. Oh, it's kinda working. Cure's got more than 400. His spending is delayed. Maybe he can get a kill for his efforts. No. Well, in a game of inches, that's a millimeter. Stats got his Nexus down first. And Cure's scouting SCV is gonna get the confirmation. Look how well behaved he is. He takes a peek and he gets out of there. Clearly that SCV has been to finishing school. He probably wears a proper suit and tie. Unlike the Reaper, who we can expect to be a little bit less well behaved. There is though an Adept getting chrono boosted out to try to intercept. Or perhaps counter-harass. Factory goes down. Looks like the Reaper's gonna go straight to the main. The Adept is out though, and in position. Stats denies that Reaper scout. He's doing the shield battery stalker thing though. Kier sees the Adept leaving, so he's gonna try to go in again. The battery warps in just in time, but the stalker's not here yet. Kier's gonna get off a grenade, and then he's gonna pull back before the stalker can deal with him. I love when Terrans save their Reaper. He got the full scout. He doesn't need to throw it away. Meanwhile, back at the Terran ranch, a bunker is up with a single Marine inside. Stats shades up that ramp, but will find it blocked. Reactored Marines are in production. Continuing our theme of bad behavior, Stats is going to scratch the paint on that depot. Kier's loaded his SCVs inside the bunker. That Adept is not going to get anything done, at least not before the Reactored Marines get here. Stats knows it, and he wisely shades away as well. Conservative play from both our players, nobody trying to do too much. Everybody saving their units. A Twilight Council is the initial tech choice, and it's researching Blink. That's followed by a Robo. This is a far less common opening for Protoss right now. Stats is skipping the obligatory Void Ray. A single Widow Mine from Terran's factory, and a tech lab on that starport. This tells us we're probably not looking at a Widow Mine drop, but rather we're looking at Widow Mines for defense. We'll see. It's not like you can't repurpose your Widow Mines. Cheers, Hellion and Reaper are keeping their eye on the expansion sites. They want to know if and when Protoss is going to try to take that third. Oh, and Kier's making a Raven. This is going to be an interesting game. I likey. Yes, please do come back to Zugzwang commentary. You don't want to miss deep insights like I likey. Anywho, the first thing out of that Robo was an Observer, and it's on its way to the Terran base. Kier's Hellion looks like he's getting antsy. He still doesn't see a third base. What he also doesn't see is the robotics support bay. We're going to be seeing Colossus or Disruptors. That Observer should be about to arrive. The Raven's going to finish up though. The Observer could get spotted, which could then cause it to get blown apart by a certain Widow Mine. Stats does see the Widow Mine. Terran has started up an eBay. Blink is just about to finish up. Oh, look what Cure's doing, so smart. He knows his Widow Mine got spotted, so he's going to rebury it in a new location. A nasty location where it's really tucked in behind that refinery. And while I'm gawking at that, we missed the musical add-ons. The barracks grabbed the tech lab, likely so we can see some stim production. But there's no sign of it yet. What we do have is a Colossus coming into production for Protoss. And +1 bio attack. And there's that third base for Protoss. Kira's gonna spot it instantly, but it's gonna cost him the Reaper. And that's gonna be our first blood. Wow, 5 minutes to get a first blood. This is a very passive game. But it doesn't feel passive. I feel like the tension is just ratcheting up. I feel like there's this big storm coming, but the lightning hasn't ripped across the sky yet. Kira totally thinks there's a drop coming. He is guarding his main every which way. He has started up Stim. Stats has started up the Colossus range upgrade. And a Forge. Protoss is going to be slightly behind on upgrades. That's typical. Kira decides he has the green light to get started on a third of his own. He's going to be conservative and build it on the high ground, though. Oh, the first Colossus has taken center stage. That's a bold statement. There's not too much around him right now, though. A second Colossus in production. Stats is really trying to get ahead on the bio-management plan. Oh, Kira's even adding missile turrets now. He's totally convinced that there's a drop coming. Or maybe he just wants to make sure everything's super tight before he pushes out. Though it's actually Protoss that's pushing out first. There's not a ton here, though. He's using his observer to make sure it's safe. But it won't be long before there's a stim timing window and the world will be very unsafe. Kira is not coming out, though. He's powering. He's adding additional Raxes. And as soon as I say that, here come the troops. Though, is he actually pushing out or is he just trying to secure his third? I thought Stats was positioning himself so he could spoil any third base expansion. But he is going home. Oh yeah, look at these bodyguards secure the perimeter. They look ready for package delivery. And that package is a lifting off command center. Oh, and the stim timing is ready. +1 is done, combat shields is finishing up. Stats has got zealot legs finishing up, but also a warp prism and warp prism speed. That opens up some interesting possibilities, but not drops in Kira's main. That place is locked down tight. Wow, if you don't count the first blood, we're 7 minutes in and there's still no death. This is starting to look like a no-rush 15 minutes game. Oh, tech explosion for Protoss. And it's gonna include a battle duct, Templar Archives. Also 2 additional gates. Gravitic drive is gonna complete. That's gonna make the warp prism 30% faster. Not just top speed, but acceleration as well. And it's just loaded up with 4 zealots. Not to be confused with the 5 more warping in. The warp prism split off from the main force. Stats is looking to do some skullduggery. But Kira seems kinda ready for it. Ah, the Vikings are here. He's gonna need those to help with the Colossi. Yet, somehow Kira's already got 3 medevacs. One of the big advantages of Colossi is you force your Terran opponent to choose between Viking production and medevac production. But here, Kira somehow managed to do both. Whoa, that Hellion died like 7 times over. Kira sort of suicided his last scout there. Did he like what he saw with it? Yes, he did. Terran is pushing out. It's Marine Marauder tank, supported by just a pair of Vikings. Kira's got the bigger army, and thanks to the magic of mules, he is mining more. Oh, Stats is gonna walk right into this. I think he'd rather fight this army next to his shield batteries. But if he can catch the tanks on siege, big time volleys for the Colossi. The Raven does not get an interference matrix off. Stats is on the run. He had a good hit though. And his warp prism is zealot bombing at the Terran Natural. I guess I overplayed that whole Fort Knox thing. But Kira's about to get position over the Terran third. Oh, he's sieged up in range. That is not good. Not good. That's an inside on par with me liking. Kira drops a scan and moves in with his bio. Stats is trying to be patient. He's hiding behind his Nexus. He has 2 disruptors available to him. Nova shots fired. Oh! Kira with the hot pickup to save his units. Then with the disruptors on cooldown, Kira pushes the advantage. Another shot fired and another medevac dodge. Those Stats did get a couple of kills. He got some value. But he's gonna have to sack his Nexus. There it goes. It's 3 bases to 2. The Terran mining advantage has snowballed. Stats does have another Nexus ready. It's just not yet saturated. Great double disruptor hits by Stats. He's trying to limit that tank count. But Cure has just brought so much to the party. Stats' Zealot counterattack has been long cleaned up. And now Terran has separated the Protoss from his natural. Stats is showing incredible patience, but he is on the clock here. His +2 attack is about to finish, but Terran's already going after a second forge. The armor upgrade will not complete. The denied tag goes up. One of the robos comes unpowered. Will Cure get us that Terran victory we've been salivating for? Stats is just hanging around. He's in a rock and a hard place. Whoa, those Zealots are really hanging around. They're trapped on hold position. I feel like I've got a meme about that or something. What kind of a Marauder shoots a Zealot that won't even fight back? Cure's ransacking the natural, but he's kept the bulk of his force back. He's warding off the Colossi. Stats' supply is dropping fast. Cure's supply is actually showing signs of growth. Looks like he's going to try to sneak around and hit Terran from behind. But he's going to have to push his way up a narrow choke guarded by tanks. There are just too many Vikings for those Colossi. The disruptor shots are quality, but they're just not enough. Stats' main army is no more. Many players would start looking for the G key on their keyboard, but this is Stats. 0 unit production for Protoss. The last of his Zealots take a poke. He needs a miraculous disruptor hit. Can he do it? No. Terran with the dodge. Well, maybe not with that second one. Terran has just surpassed the Protoss on upgrades. If it is darkest before the dawn, it's definitely dawn time. Stats has worked in 8 Stalkers to try to get his army together, but the disruptors are the heart and soul of his attack. He needs every shot to work right now. With the Colossi gone, the Vikings land and play the role of meat shields. They are gone too, but the Marauders are cutting into the Blink Stalkers. And Stats surrenders, it's GG! Terran wins! Cure takes the game! It has been a while. First things first, let me show you what was going on with that warp prism. I got so caught up with the main battle, I didn't show any of this. There were 2 Zealots in the natural, they got cleaned up, 2 more in the main, and then there was a warp in to follow through. 3 additional Zealots, but there was double Viking production, and its timing could not have been better. Stats got 8 kills out of it, but he needed a home run, because back at home his bases and tech were getting shut right down. But thinking about this game, I realized it illustrates something just perfect that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. There's this super cool interplay with range going on. Now, before I dive into it, I want to make clear that in no way is this matchup all about range. It's just one component in a tapestry of so many factors. But it works like this. Your starting point is the Marine, and a TVP on a dollar per dollar basis or mineral per mineral basis, a Marine with Stim gives you the best DPS available for cost, 14.7, and that's before numerical upgrades. That means all else being equal, Terran is going to win that match just by virtue of getting Stim Marines. The weakness, if you will, is the Marine only has a range of 5, and that Marines are vulnerable to splash, only 45 hit points, 55 with combat shields. So Protoss can outrange the Marine. Stalkers, for example, have a range of 6, and you'll see some games where Marines are getting out-microed by Stalkers that are continuously on the move. But that's comparatively rare because Terran can just add in Marauders, which also have a range of 6, have the Stim, and do extra damage against armor, which Stalkers inconveniently are. So while Stalkers are an important part of the Protoss death ball, I don't consider them part of the range dynamic that I'm waxing on about right now. What I am talking about is Colossi. A Colossus has a range of 7, 9 with the extended thermal lance upgrade. It also does bonus damage against light units, which Marines inconveniently are. So, all things being equal, the Colossi can stutter step backwards and annihilate Marines. Yes, they can get pinned against terrain or surprised by Marines lurching forward all of a sudden, but generally an equal investment in Colossi is going to beat an equal investment in Marines, and mostly because of that range differential. But As I've gone about in other games, Terran has an answer to this. A couple, actually. One is Vikings, but I want to sort of ignore that for the moment. Vikings have a range of 9 to match that extended thermal lance, but Terran is paying for this. Every Viking built is a missed-out medevac, which the Stim Marines desperately need. And after the Colossi are gone, most Terran players struggle to get value from their Vikings, so it's more of a cancellation than a beat, really. And if there's Phoenix out there, you're quite unlikely to be getting enough value from your Vikings. I'm not saying Vikings aren't the answer to Colossi or shouldn't be used. They can be a must-have. They're just not the real part of the range dynamic equation that I'm talking about. I'm talking about tanks. The siege tank has a range of 13. This means a tank can obliterate a Colossi before it can close. The tanks can cover the Marines so they can get in close enough to do their work. The cool part here is it only works in siege mode, which means timing and positioning come back into play. In tank mode, or pun mode as they call it in Korea, the range is only 7, and they are vulnerable. Watch practically any TVP with euthermal in it, and you'll see Colossi get put in their place by siege tanks. So, has Terran won the battle of range? No, they haven't. Because disruptors shoot farther. Sort of. Technically, Novas don't have a range. Their Nova Blasts have a time element, 2.1 seconds. But for practical purposes, a disruptor can hit a tank without falling into its range. It shoots farther. So, is Terran outclassed? No, again. And Cure shows us why in this game. The medevacs can let you dodge the disruptor hits. That's the equalizer here. And the cool part is, the tanks can't dodge. At least not in siege mode. This creates this huge interplay of skill. Protoss can only win the battle of range if they can make the Nova connections. And it's not all up to the Protoss player either. The Terran player can make it harder or darn near impossible if they invest their attention in microwing dodges and medevac pickups. In fact, if you think on it, remember that after Heart of the Swarm, it used to be possible for a medevac to pick up a tank in siege mode. It looked super cool, but ultimately Blizzard had to get rid of it. At the time, the problem was with tank drops. They were just too deadly. But another reason is that if medevacs can dodge Nova Blasts, Terran is going to win that battle of range far too often. So, lastly for me to say, there's of course a lot more going on in a TVP than just range. There's positioning, timing, composition, the defender's advantage, and always who's just got more stuff. But range is a really neat part of it, and it's fun to reflect on that once in a while. Lastly, this game was a rare opportunity in which I can legitimately remind you to live life, because nobody wants to die in hold position. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out. To continue your Starcraft journey, Nova advises you to click the video in the upper rectangle. But Kerrigan warns you to watch your 6 and click the video in the bottom rectangle. Or you can stimpack your Starcraft experience. Subscribe to Zugzwang Starcraft. Just hit the circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.